Welcome to Third Eye Weekly. With us, we have Matt
Yeah.
Schultz, the executive director of The Generator, a self-organized artist incubator creating a collaborative environment for artists in a 34,000 square foot workspace in Reno, Nevada. Thank you for being with us, Matt.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
All right. So I was looking into this, and this seems like a space where artists with some of the Burning Man qualities and principles can come together and generate really amazing, creative, large structures. What point was it inspired by Burning Man when you went to go to Burning Man, or how did this sort of inspiration come about?
You know, the generator's inspiration has been kind of about 6, 7 years in the making. We were really inspired as a group to create these big projects by a lot of what was happening at Burning Man. I went out for my first year in 2008, and I was really compelled by seeing this environment where everyone was welcome to create on their own accord. And I'd been an artist for years, but I was always working in the commercial arts field. And so, you know, trying to break into fine arts was quite challenging. And so we just decided to start making our own art. And we did it for no other reason but because we enjoyed it and we wanted to share it with people. And so that idea simply grew. As we built larger projects, we started to facilitate a need for bigger and bigger spaces. And our success kind of begot a donor for us, and started us on this mission to support everyone in creating and making art or inventions or ideas of really any scale, any breadth, any depth, any origin. And so that's kind of how it started. It's basically a big giant warehouse that's free for everyone to come use. That's meant to be a place that has all the resources that you could ever need to build whatever you want.
So, what are some of the differences between being a member versus being a resident?
So we have a couple different kind of memberships. Effectively, everyone's a member. You just come in the door and you sign a waiver, and you're a member. And so members can come in and use all the resources, all the tools, make whatever they want. And then residents are kind of the backbone. A resident artist at the Generator is someone who has their own personal space. It's usually, about 16 square feet. It's not big, but they have a space to do art on a permanent basis without the need to, always pick up after they're done. And residents, we expect to be prolific. We want a resident to be working on their art at least twice a week, and they need to give back to the Generator in some way. This entire space is run through donations, and as such, we ask that people, everyone involved, spend some time to give back. And the resident artists are required to give a little bit more back. They're required to find ways to reach out to the community, to find donations, to actively engage in mentorship, to help with basic cleaning, or teaching people how to use tools. And so it just kind of creates this nice ecosystem where our staff is here to keep this foundation running. We give it a direction to grow in, and ensure that the resources functionally work, so that when people come in here, they have the freedom to build and create and interact with the Generator how they please.
Was the Generator a place where you could build those structures?
The Generator's a place where you can build anything, and that's something that's really quite incredible. Between all these big giant Burning Man structures, we have a lot of very interesting real world projects. Furniture makers and decorators, costumers. We have a number of people building armor in the space. But the most compelling stuff that tends to come out of the Generator are the 30 or so big projects that go to Burning Man. I'm responsible for kind of leading the build for Embrace, and then the Pier in 2011, and then Pier 2, which was at a full-scale Spanish galleon shipwreck, crashed into it in 2012. And we built the ship in a precursor space to the generator, and then Embrace was built here. And we could have never engaged in creating a piece on the scale of Embrace without a space like this. And I think that's where these kind of spaces are really important, especially if we want to try to kind of push forward with something new in America and new in the world. I think we need to, as citizens in our own individual cities, push forward to find the people who have the economic resources to provide us with tools and space and education so we can all build these incredible things. We live in a place where the future is now. We're in the future at this moment. I'm speaking to you through a computer across the country. And so we should start acting like it and start building it. Like there's a realm of possibilities available to every single human on this planet that has never been seen in all of human history. And it's time to step up and make it happen.
Absolutely. It's almost a bit like a school where everyone is both a student and a teacher, where artists can teach carpenters how to paint and carpenters can teach makers how to build. So we were wondering how this was inspired by the self-organized learning environment as proposed by Sagata Meets for Children.
Yeah, we're from proponents of the idea that everyone has skills to teach, has knowledge to share, and we don't live in a society where people are really asked to share their ideas and knowledge. Especially when you look at people as they get older, they kind of get phased out. And so we're trying to build a space where everyone comes together and they just share skills with each other. And we really have been stunningly inspired by the self-organized learning environments this is Gaudamitra kind of stumbled upon. And we've been trying to riddle how to take that and bring that into kind of the adult world. Self-organized learning environments are great because this internet's body of knowledge is here, and then like a kid's bell curve of knowledge is usually somewhere below it, and you can take this knowledge bell curve and bring it up because there's all this information up here in the internet that you can teach kids with. Real world adults bell curve of knowledge kind of goes above at points the bell curve or the body of knowledge that's the internet. So if we can get all of the adults to all share their skills and increase their general knowledge and get those exceptional adults up at the top to push forward new ideas and new concepts, help support them, and then feed that knowledge back to the cloud, then we can all kind of accelerate this learning together. We herald in a new technological singularity when we can all use the internet to access an enormous body of knowledge and execute new skills, new ideas, new inventions at a much faster rate than was ever seen in the past. And so that's what's really inspiring to me about self-organized learning environments. We can teach kids from the get-go how to research knowledge on their own, how to be inquisitive and inventive, how to explore arts from the very beginning. And if we can get the kids and the adults to share those skills with each other, I just feel like there's going to be an educational explosion that comes from it.
So when you're trying to choose some of those artists to be residents, are there background checks? Is there an application process at all with that?
No, we haven't come in. We have them work on their projects for a couple of weeks. We trust them, and if they come in and they work and they help clean up and help teach people skills and seem to be nice people who don't have too severe mental disorders, I kind of feel like I own the keys to the asylum. We're all artists, so we're all a little bit crazy. But as long as as long as we feel like they'll fit well enough here that they won't really be a negative, like we'll accept almost anyone. And it's really important that we have a broad range of people in here, even people that probably drive me or the other artists crazy, because residency and the people that populate this space are really, it's more important that they make stuff and bring new ideas to the table, um, than they get along perfectly fine with everyone and fit in with our social group. Um, and that's actually, I mean, that's a really important thing, I think, with all these spaces, is there's a tendency for collective spaces to kind of reflect the the the, the niche audience, that the founders reflect. And we've definitely struggled with that at times, being having our roots in Burning Man and then trying to bring that back in the real world. We've had to be very conscious about reaching out to seniors and children's groups, and some underserved populaces. And what we found is we've had really a lot of success in, taking this social and cultural experiment and ensuring it's accessible to a wide range of people. And to be completely apolitical, the maker movement is really like a white middle class thing, and I think that kind of sucks. Like, the maker movement brings tools and resources to a huge number of people, and the groups that would be served best from it are inner city groups, rural groups, urban groups, not rural groups. But urban groups that don't have access to tools or resources or large amounts of space, and they're stuck going through really, really poorly executed public school systems. Like, those are the groups we want to reach. I want to have kids who are from immigrant families coming in here and learning how to do really incredible things. And I want them to sit, next to someone who's successfully executed, their life and is now retired and wants to share their skills. I think that's really interesting. And so, yeah, if we can all as a group try to, I guess, make the maker movement a little less white bread, that would be kind of cool.
Speaking of skills, what are some examples of the common shops?
We have 4,000 square foot wood shop, 3,000 square foot metal shop, our tech lab, which I'm sitting in right now, sewing rooms across the hall, gallery downstairs, ceramics lab, 5-axis CNC, laser cutter, and then we have some common spaces. We have a really wonderful performance space downstairs, a small library or kitchen, and then there's both aquaponics, hydroponics, and a pair of gardens.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing seeing all this happen together.
Yeah, and having access to such a diverse amount of classes like that is pretty incredible for free, So what are some of the longest and largest projects you guys are really on right now?
We are working on, we're currently working on a handful of really big projects. There's 2 really large personal projects that we've engaged as a peer group. That's kind of the art arm of this structure. And then there's 1 giant project the generator is working on. The generator is working on getting 5 acres from the city of Reno. We're trying to create a public-private partnership, to create a really beautiful art park, raised bed gardens, and a new custom-built industrial art space, in Reno, to basically create like a full ecosystem. The community gardens are kind of basic collaboration and community engagement. The art park is both a chance to show off art and inspire others to want to create. And then from there, if a kid comes to the park and they see something that inspires them and they have an idea explode in their head, they can simply walk over to the building and go walk inside the building and have free access to the tools and resources and start to execute their idea. And so that's our big idea, and that's like our big, like, let's try to change the way we look at the interface of art and gardening and parks and industrial resources and education, and see if we can kind of realign that. And that'll be a big long-term 5-year project. We've had a lot of success working with the city and negotiating with them to kind of move this forward. And then the two more personal projects are we're working on a piece that's about it's kind of about the militarization of the police force and the issues with police brutality and kind of the way that politicians kind of play with the police and civilian interaction. And that's basically, we're going to take we're building life-size green army men who are police officers, and then the brown army people are citizens. So like we have a police officer with his gun out, and someone's going to be throwing a tear gas grenade. It's actually, the first one's downstairs in process right now. And then the citizens will have there'll be like a woman with a baby stroller and someone with their hands up. And these will all be like giant toys made of fiberglass. And then we're going to take and reproduce an MRAP, one of the militarized police tanks that are being distributed around American cities, and paint that green and turn it into a giant toy with 2 giant inflatable children that will come out of this playing with this whole scene. So that's a big 4-year project. The first piece, which will be the very first fiberglass soldier, will be done at the end of the month. We're just finishing up the sculpture, and that's the most beautiful piece I've done so far. And then the second big piece, which is the one I'm most excited about, is we have been talking about full-scale blue whale or humpback whale, mother and calf. They're basically like diving down to the bottom of the ocean. The head will be about 7 feet above your head, and we want to make this kind of semi-French Victorian out of stained glass. So from a distance, it's this beautiful mother and calf whale diving through the air with these beautiful stained glass bubbles and really, really, really kind of intimate lighting. But from a distance, it'll look like a whale and a calf. And then when you approach, the stained glass panels in the mother speak about environmental degradation, so the destruction of the environment. And then the calves, all of her panels speak about an optimistic future, the ideas of greening our cityscape, carbon sequestering, renewable energy, creating a balance between our kind of techno-utopian cities and this really beautiful ecological preservation of forests and landscape. So those are our big projects, which I think we'll start on the whale probably in the fall, and I would hope to have it done sometime in 2016. The police project's going to be trickling out probably every 3 or 4 months. We'll have a new piece, and we'll slowly grow towards having this big giant kind of political thing. And then Generator Phase 2 is a 5-year project.
Oh, that's pretty amazing. That's all the time we have for today, Matt. Thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us. It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me.